In this video, we're introducing this month's limited box. Welcome, my name is Patrick Rolfe and this is Coffee with April. For this video, we are sharing some insights about our limited box for the month of August. So for those of you that don't know, every month we feature a very special selection of coffees that we believe to be the best, the rarest, and the most competition-compatible coffees that we can find. And for this month, we're featuring something we haven't featured before, and that's really interesting. It's two different coffees coming out of La Granja la Esperanza in Colombia. Now, they have been farming coffee for quite some time. They're a producer with actually 5 different farms. And what we have done is that we selected coffees from 2 of those farms. Now, it goes without saying that if you're experienced in the world of coffee competitions, you must have come across these coffees before. They've been highly used in both national and international competitions, and many times also winning. So we thought it would be very fitting to actually feature these coffees. Now, the process for us has been that we sampled a few different coffees from them early on. These coffees are all from the 2021 summer harvest, so basically as fresh as it gets right now. And we found 2 coffees in particularly that we thought was really interesting. The first one being a geisha varietal from the Serra Azul farm, and the second one being a Sidra varietal from the Potosi farm. Now, both of these are natural processed coffees, which means they've been dried basically with full cherries. Now, each coffee has been processed slightly different, and you can find more info about that on our website or on the product itself. But what's interesting is that what comes out is 2 of the most flavor complex coffees that we've ever featured here. So it's basically 2 really interesting coffees. And before we go into more in terms of taste experience and brewing, we want to share a few notes about the roasting. So when it comes to coffees like these, they are often very limited. They're also quite high priced, which basically means that from a roasting perspective, you have to be on top of what you're doing. So it goes without saying that we invested quite a lot of planning before actually roasting it. Now, the batch size of both of these coffees has been 7.5 kilos, which is something that we don't do on a weekly basis, but we tend to go back to that when we have smaller lots of coffees. And quite often that's actually beneficial because we have a bit wider spectrum when it comes to heat transfer and control when we're roasting. Now, both of the roasts are quite similar, but still different. So one of the things that both of them have in common is that we're starting to what is referred with a soak, basically. So we're starting with lower energy and we're ramping up the energy as we go in the roast. Now, there's slightly different duration here because we're looking at 2 different expressions of the 2 coffees here, right? And the decisions behind that comes from basically our experience of roasting these varietals from Colombia, but from different farms in the past. So what we're looking at here is a total roast time on the geisha of about 9 minutes, with a total time after first crack of about 1 minute, leading up to an end temperature of 208.8. On the flip side, if we look at the Sidra, what we have there is a slightly longer total roast time, which is 9 minutes and 35 seconds, together with a slightly longer time after crack, which would be 1 minute and 6 seconds, but actually a slightly lower end temp, which would be 207.6. And the reason for this is that our experience with the geisha varietal is that it can take a slightly lighter roast approach, whereas when we have been working with Sidra in the past, we tend to always drag that out a tiny bit more to avoid any kind of vegetable-y kind of stewed fruit notes, which sometimes can come. So that was a little bit about the roasting. Now, when it comes to the brewing, we're actually taking out our new April glass brewer. And what we've done this week is that we've actually done a slightly larger recipe. So we're back to kind of 2300. We're putting a water temperature at 92 degrees Celsius, and we're doing our traditional 3-pour structure. Now, when it comes to both of these coffees, they are going to have a slightly faster flow rate than, for example, the other normal April coffees would have, and it just comes down to processing, which really does make a difference when it comes to how fast the water goes through the coffee. So when we brew here, we're looking at a total brew time of about 2 minutes and 10 seconds. And we're looking at a total TDS, which is going to be similar to around 1.25, more or less. Again, we always prefer the TDS to be on the lower side. Never recommended to be above 1.35. Now, when it comes to taste experience here, this is really when it gets interesting because these are extremely complex coffees. Now, do we have a preference of the two? Perhaps, but what's interesting here is really just the layers of complexity, the layers of different flavors, and the change in acidity structure. Both coffees have this kind of characteristic malic, apple-like character to it, very much kind of reminiscent of some kind of apple cider. But when we look at the Sidra, we have a lot wilder notes. We have several different layers of different fruits, both tropical as well as red fruits. We also have quite a lot of floral qualities to it as well. When we're looking at the geisha, it's a lot more refined, it's a lot more subtle, but you have all of these beautiful tamarind flavors, which is very kind of widely connected to the Serra Azul geisha in terms of taste preference. You have some beautiful floral notes to it as well, and again this kind of apple vibe to it, and a characteristic white grape sensation as well. So I mean, it goes without saying that I expect either of these coffees to go up in the World Championship later in October. So for those of you that kind of want to get a reference for what kind of calibers of coffee we're going to see in the upcoming World Championship, this is really the box for you. Now, that was basically all we had today, and with that we want to say thank you guys for watching. And if you have more questions, if you had any of our previous limited boxes, then please share. What do you think about them? Do you like them? What don't you like? And do you have any recommendations for future limited boxes as well? With that, thank you very much and have a good day. We want to give a special thank you to all of our Patreon supporters. It's because of you that we are able to continue to make these videos. And we want you all to feel free to always come with suggestions and ideas on the content that you want to see, because we are doing this for you and because of you. Thank you from all of us here at April.